What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JBsports, back again with another one. TGIF to all my YouTube listeners out there. And the WBA has just announced, the World Boxing Association has just announced that Manny Pacquiao is now champion in recess and has elevated Cuba's Yodenis Ugas to Super WBA welterweight champion. Yodenis Ugas held the version of the WBA belt, the regular version of the WBA belt, but now he's elevated to Super WBA welterweight champion, and that now sets the stage for a unification matchup with the IBF and WBC welterweight champion Errol the True Spence. And I would imagine that fight would take place in AT&T Stadium, home of the Dallas Cowboys and home of Errol Spence Jr., a.k.a. Free Smoke. And this is going to put Errol Spence Jr. in a much stronger position than he already is as far as a matchup between him and the WBO welterweight champion Terrence Bud Crawford. As if he defeats Yodenis Ugas, he will have 3 of the 4 major belts. And I could easily see 60-40 going to 70-30 would be the negotiation that Errol Spence Jr. will start with when they negotiate with Team Bud Crawford. So Bud Crawford, you're going to have to do something, man. You can't fight a no-hope or a no-name fight in your next fight. You've got to get in the ring now with Showtime Sean Porter. He's a guy that's ranked number 1 in the WBO. He's ranked in the IBF very highly. He's ranked number 1 in the WBC. He's a guy that's been on the biggest stage, fought the biggest names in Keith One-Time Thurman, Danny Swift Garcia, Devin Alexander, a former champion 140 pounds. He fought Paulie Malignaggi. He's been in there with the best of the best. Been in there with Errol Spence Jr. in a Fight of the Year candidate that was one of the best fights in 2019. So we will see what happens. We'll see what transpires. But the WBA has did what a lot of people were saying they were going to do, was strip Manny Pacquiao, and they just did it in a nice way, but basically saying he's a champion in recess. And this basically sets the stage for him and Ryan Garcia to take a matchup between those two. It'll be a non-title fight. Don't believe what you've been hearing about that fight being an exhibition. It's not going to be an exhibition, but it will be a non-title fight, a 10-rounder. They're just trying to negotiate the weight. I'm hearing it's going to be either 143 or 144, but it's going to be a real fight. And whoever loses, the loss will go on their record, and whoever wins, the win will go on their record. It's not going to be an exhibition like, Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. exhibition. It's not going to be an exhibition like that. It's not going to be KSI versus Logan Paul. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be no YouTubers fighting in the exhibition, which draws a lot of attention. They're doing better numbers than a lot of big-time fights that have been made here recently. But this fight is not going to be in that category. This is going to be a real fight. And this just sets the stage for that particular matchup, and it also sets the stage, what I mentioned earlier, between a matchup between Errol Spence Jr. versus Yodenis Ugas, which will be a good fight because Ugas has earned this opportunity. A lot of people thought he beat Showtime Sean Porter in a very close split decision loss in Carson, California, and he was able to bounce back and get the title, the regular version of the WBA title, by defeating Abel Ramos. And now he's looking to topple the cash cow and the number 1 fighter in the welterweight division in Errol Spence Jr. And that's a very intriguing matchup between those two tough, rugged individuals in Spence Jr. and Yodenis Ugas. I'll break that fight down in more detail, but I like the matchup, and I like the bargaining power that it will give Errol Spence Jr. if he prevails over Yodenis Ugas. But again, the WBA has announced that Yodenis Ugas is now the full WBA champion at 147 pounds, and he holds the major belt at that particular organization. No longer just looked on as the regular WBA champion. I don't know if he'll hold on to that title, or will they have guys that's ranked in the top 5 fight for the regular version of the WBA title, but he is now the champion at the WBA 147-pound welterweight division. And look for a matchup between him and Errol Spence Jr. in Cowboy Stadium sometime in July 2021. It will be the earliest date, and the latest date I would assume would be in September 2021. So look forward in that time frame, those two guys getting in the ring and mixing it up and finding out who is going to be holding 3/4 of the belts in the 147-pound division. Hit the like button if you like the content of this video, and subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. I holla.